Black sedan, disappearance on Route 13. The clock on Laura's Honda Civic's dashboard read 2:47 as they pulled onto a deserted stretch of Route 13. The radio had stopped working, and instead of cheerful music, there was only crackling and scraps of phrases coming out of the speakers. "I told you we should have left earlier," Laura said, picking up speed. Dan sprawled in the passenger seat. He was looking for cheerful music, lazily switching radio stations. It was then that he noticed two dim yellow circles in the mirror. "Someone's rear-ended me," he muttered. Laura glanced in the mirror. Behind her in the dark night, the outline of an old black sedan was clearly visible. Laura didn't think much of it at first. Maybe someone's lights had burned out? However, when she slowed down a little, the car behind her did the same, keeping exactly 3 feet away. Strange type, Laura thought, and stepped on the gas. The speedometer read 70 miles an hour. The sedan didn't lag an inch, as if it were tethered by an invisible tether. Dan rolled down the window and stuck out his hand, gesturing, "Overtake!" Only then did he notice the car had no license plates. And when Dan looked closer, he broke out in a cold sweat. Laura. She had no headlights at all. What they had mistaken for lights was the reflection of their own brake lights in the perfectly polished hood. At 3:13 a.m., Laura couldn't take it anymore. She slammed her foot down hard on the brakes. The rubber squealed, their bodies forward. They were bound to hear the impact. However, when the Honda came to a stop, there was no impact from behind. Only a thick fog was billowing over the asphalt. "What's going on?" Dan peered through the windshield into the darkness. The silence was broken by a sharp knock on the glass, on the driver's side. Laura slowly turned her head. There was no one behind the glass. "Let's go," Dan said, his voice shaking. When the Honda started again, Laura looked in the rearview mirror, and she saw him. A man in a black suit sat in the back with his hands folded in his lap. His face was hidden by shadows. The smell of old leather and gasoline filled the cabin. "You shouldn't have stopped." A rough man's voice came from the back seat. In the morning, the local sheriff found the Honda Civic in the middle of Route 13. The doors were open. The engine was running. Dan's phone was on the dashboard, the screen showing an incomplete 911 call. What surprised the sheriff most, however, was the back seat. It was covered in a black, oily liquid. Forensics would later determine it was motor oil from the 70s, and they found 10 distinct fingerprints. It's like someone was holding on with all their might when the car forward or braked hard. When the sheriff opened the trunk, he was shocked. There was a black suit with a 1975 dry cleaning tag. In the suit pocket was a Polaroid photo. It showed Laura and Dan tied up in the back seat, their mouths sewn shut with fishing line. Since then, drivers have been talking about a black sedan with no headlights that appears behind them on Route 13. If you see it, don't slow down, because the one inside has been waiting a long time for companions.